Welcome to the Creating Conditions podcast, brought to you by the American Indian Student Achievement Team at the Montana Office of Public Instruction, where we strive to create the conditions necessary for American Indian students and all students to reach their educational and lifelong goals. Creating Conditions emphasizes the proactive effort of shaping an environment to facilitate a desired outcome. It involves recognizing that success often depends on more than just effort. It also depends on the surrounding circumstances. Our team believes all Montanans stand to benefit from the Indigenous knowledge that persists today. We are dedicated to serving all students through the creation and implementation of Indigenous whole child supports. No matter where you work or what populations of students you serve, we are so glad you are checking out our podcast because all students attend school as whole people and whole learners.
Greetings, my name is Watches the Buffalo Go By, and I'm a member of the Crow Nation and also a Tribal Student Achievement Specialist here at the OPI. And so happy that you are here today. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Michelle Hinson. I'm also a Tribal Student Achievement Specialist at the Office of Public Instruction. And today we are going to jump into the topic of welcoming routines and specifically talk about a project we have been stewarding at the OPI called the Indigenous Morning Greetings project. But first, a little bit about welcoming routines. And so they can look very different. And essentially what a welcoming routine is it's any sort of action that helps students feel connected to the school, helps bring them in, gives them a warm welcome. Often people do these in the mornings, but they don't have to necessarily be in the morning. They can be at any time where you are transitioning. And so, again, often folks will do a welcoming routine in the morning to help welcome students into school, into classrooms, but they can also take place, after recess, after lunch, anytime you need to help facilitate a transition. And they're especially useful for young children, but really all children can really benefit from that welcome message, that feeling of belonging, that little bit of effort an educator or somebody takes to really make sure students feel like this is a place they are wanted, this is the place that they are safe, and a place where educators are excited to see them. Like I said, they are routines that educators implement in the morning. We know from our experience that a lot of educators will do like morning meetings. They might just greet students at the door. And also, it seems like more and more educators are offering smudge in the morning. And that's maybe a future episode. Maybe we can talk specifically about smudging. But again, it's any sort of routine, a welcoming activity that takes place. And it's really that intention of welcoming students and helping them transition. And so at the OPI, we have been, we've done a full year and we're getting ready to kick off the second year of our Indigenous Morning Greetings project. And what this project entails is, and we'll play an example here in just a moment, but it's recorded greetings from Indigenous elders, knowledge keepers, or language speakers, and designed to assist with that welcoming activity, whatever that looks like. And it's been a really fun project to work on.
I'm so excited to be sharing this particular example of the morning greetings that you have put together. But I'm really curious, Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about what was the inspiration behind this? Like what brought you to this place?
Yes, so it's been a fun project to work on. And what really initiated this project was sort of two things. I had done a lot of work with our whole child skill development competencies or our social emotional learning work at the OPI. And there's a lot of research that shows how beneficial these welcoming routines are. And often educators might be a little apprehensive to implement them because they're worried about it taking away from instructional time. Mm-hmm. But what we find and what the research shows is that this is a really great return on investment as far as time goes. And so as students are able to go through the process of being welcomed, go through that routine that's predictable, and help with that transition, it makes learning better able to occur. And so whatever it is that they're transitioning from, it just gets them to that place, helps their body prepare for learning. And what they've seen is that they're really, really great increases in attendance, increases in students' feelings of connection to school, and then that achievement piece, that academic achievement piece. And so there's a lot of research around the benefits of this. And then what really sold me on it, though, was as I was doing a student voice project. And so between 2021 and 2023, I was able to do a student voice project where I interviewed students, mostly high school students, some middle school students from across the state. In total, I heard from about 60 students, and I asked them questions about how schools can support their feelings of safety, their mental health, and their just general well-being. And these students were native, non-native. They were from AA schools. They were from, across the board. I had a lot of Class C schools. So anywhere between very rural and in those urban areas. And what was very striking to me was how often students talked about the perceived lack of positive messaging that they get in their school day. And so just that feeling of, we don't get a lot of positive feedback. We don't get a lot of encouraging messages. And so knowing that that was something that they were interested in, and that also there was a lot of research around, and then a lot of research around the cultural piece to this. And so I love this project because it really blends together some research that's well documented, student voice, actually voices from Montana students, and then the piece around culture and all that documented research, and also what students themselves have said too about wanting to hear their language in school, wanting to have more exposure to Indigenous knowledge. And so I just love this project because it blends all of this great research and all of these things that students themselves have asked for.
It's such a great project, and I'm excited to share this example from Burt Medicine Bowl out of Lame Deer, Northern Cheyenne. And it's just beautiful, and I love it. And I just wanted to say that our schools are very deficit based. It's about what we don't know and trying to fill those gaps and get more. So the smallest things that we can do to be positive and to recognize strengths and culture and identity are so powerful. And so that's just one of the many things I love about this project, is bringing a greeting as a human to another human, that somebody took the time to say, hey, you're important, and I wanted you to know that. So thank you so much. And we're going to play that example now.
My name is Burt Medicine Bowl. Pivot it's chef. Pivot on it the what? Namat vistamat. Mehatat. Nidadishes to what? Good morning. This day, I want you to be compassionate, to be loving, help each other, love one another.
And so thanks, Crystal, for also mentioning identity in your description of this project, because that's another thing we feel like it's really important for students to see folks from their own community in their own schools. And so thank you for mentioning that. But as you just heard from that greeting, we tend to try to keep these greetings pretty short. And then another thing that we've done, and for those schools that are interested in them, is we've paired them with prompts that can be used for either talking circles or reflective writing. And so for an example of that in that greeting you just heard, we also have these prompts organized by grade band. And so for K through 12, we have this prompt that reads, being compassionate means being kind and showing care for others. How do you show others that you care about them? And so it gives students a chance to reflect on what they heard and internalize that message and actually think about how they might apply it. And so we have these prompts. They're optional, but we really love the idea of pairing them together with the greeting because it gives a chance for reflection and also development of different skills, whether you're looking at it from the whole child skill development competency lens, where you have sort of those 5 domains, or the Indigenous Whole Learner Relational Framework, which was our episode 2, which we featured in episode 2. And so I love the greetings in and of themselves, but I also love the option that we have for educators to pair those and have some reflective questions.
Michelle, I love the talking circles and the writing prompts, the talking points that you have underneath are paired with each of these things, and that's just one part of the process, right? So can you tell us about the process that you use to create these greetings, or creating each greeting?
And I love to give those who are featured in the greetings like as minimal instructions as I can, and really let them think about what is the message that they want to share. And so usually what I tell those who we record greetings with is the biggest priority is to give that positive message, and also knowing that many of these will be played in the morning, and this year specifically as we're starting the week. And just ask them, what are those messages you want students to know as they start their day, as they start the week? And then I try to let them just kind of take it and run with it. We love to include language. And as you heard in that example from Bert Medicine, he speaks in Northern Cheyenne and then translates into English. As often as we can, we like to include, those Indigenous languages in there. I always have a goal to include all 12 Indigenous of Montana's native languages. I think last year I got 10 of the 12. So this year I'm going to try to get that 12 again. But it's really that opportunity for students to hear Indigenous language, Indigenous worldview, and have it through that lens of welcoming students to their learning experience. And oftentimes what our speakers do is they provide that greeting, but then they also impart some words of wisdom. And so there's usually a lot of the messages will include, advice for students and staff to have a good life, have a good week. Well, here are some things that you can do today or this week to just live a good, wholesome life and have happiness and wellness. So I love giving our speakers just a little bit of guidance so that they kind of know what the end result will be, but then letting them run with it. And often what they do is they think about things that they wish they would have been told as students, or things that have helped them achieve. And so, achieve lifelong success, whatever that looks like to them. And so it's a great opportunity, I think, to just really leverage the lived experience of our speakers as well.
I love that lived experience piece so much. And I love that you're bringing it into the classrooms. So our students can see that knowledge it's not just in and of itself, but it has wisdom, it has meaning in our whole lives. And of course, always the whole human. How do you find the people that you are recording and sending out into the world?
So we're really fortunate. We've been able to work with a group called the Knowledge Keepers of Indigenous Nations, and that's a collective group of knowledge keepers that work with the OPI and other entities. Donnie Wetzel, when he was here at the OPI, kind of really spearheaded a more formal formation of that group. And so we're really lucky to work with them. And then a lot of it is just kind of, it sort of ripples from there. And so as we work with schools or as we work with students, we actually this year, I'm really excited, we're featuring a couple of greetings from students also, because they have, knowledge themselves. They are, as young adults, they have their own knowledge that's maybe been passed down to them. and it's something that they hold on to and utilize in their lives and want to share with others. And so lots of different ways to identify those speakers, and we're always looking for others. And so we're always welcome folks who are interested in participating in this and have a message that they would like to share with students. But often it's sort of, identifying those knowledge keepers and then kind of working our way out into the community from there, and hearing people who recommend, like, hey, this person, it would be a really great person to feature in this project because they have good words to say. They care about kids. They want those positive messages to get to students who can really listen to them and utilize them. And so lots of different ways. We find our speakers in lots of different ways, but something that they all have in common is their desire to impart wisdom or just tell students and staff, some good words that will help them have a good day and help them have a good week.
How important it is to have those words in all parts of our lives, and especially in school where kids are learning about how to live in the world. So I'm so grateful that these exist, and I'm excited for the new year. I have been just fascinated with the feedback that you have got from this, or you've received from this project. It's been phenomenal. It's been amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
We have about 45 schools who are registered to receive monthly emails from me with these greetings. All schools are welcome to use them, but we know of at least about 45 schools who are routinely using them with their students. And we've gotten some really great feedback from especially schools who serve primarily non-native students, which is interesting. And so they're designed for everybody, but what's coming out is that it is something that's being really deeply impactful for both native and non-native students and educators as well. And some of the feedback that we've gotten that I've been most excited about, and it was definitely not an intentional outcome of this, it wasn't a main focus going into it, but it's really cool to see how perceptions are changing, especially in schools that are predominantly non-native. They're learning about Native people themselves too, and getting a different experience outside of maybe what's typically offered in a history lesson or, some other isolated experience that they have with Indigenous cultures, or maybe a total lack of experience and exposure to Indigenous cultures. And so they're getting the opportunity to hear from Indigenous people, hear language, hear worldview, maybe for the first time, or maybe more frequently than they ever have before. And so it's really great to hear how it's been really impactful for those students. So for all students, native and non-native, and then especially for some of our native students, they describe being able to hear their language and how meaningful that is to them, see people that they're maybe related to, and just see people that are from their community offering these greetings and being showcased in a way where we are honoring what they have to say, and we're recognizing that what they have to say is really important and meaningful and benefits everyone. And so it's really fun to have that opportunity for Native students to see their aunties, see their grandmas, see their grandpas, featured in this way as well.
So powerful. So very powerful. You have, information about getting these morning greetings. Do you want to share how to go about doing that?
Yes. And so on our website, our OPI Indian Student Achievement website, there's a link there. You can access the folder where they will all be. That's just a Google folder. And again, welcome all schools to use these. If you would like to receive monthly emails from me with a new list every month of those greetings, you can reach out to me. My email is michellehinson@mt.gov, and I can add you to our registration list, and so that you don't have to go searching every month for those files. I can just send them. They'll be in your inbox once a month. But any and all schools are welcome to use these. They're freely available. Whether you would like to pair them with the prompts or not It's your prerogative, but we make those available to anybody who would like to use them, and would love if you are using them, and if you have some feedback, we'd love to hear how that's going for you. We did make changes this year based on feedback from last year, and so we're always willing to make as many changes as we can to make these a really applicable tool for schools and make them really user-friendly. And so we hope this has encouraged you if you're interested in creating a welcoming routine or starting to implement a welcoming routine. Here's one option for you. There's many options, and if you have questions about what those could look like, if you reach out anytime to either Crystal or myself or anyone from our team, and we can talk about other options too. If the Indigenous Morning Greetings project is something you're interested in, or if you're interested in offering smudge or just any sort of welcoming routine that you might be interested in, we can talk with you, kind of hear what your ideas are and help you with that facilitation process. And we would just love for you to explore that as an option if it's not something that you're currently doing, or if it's something that you're currently doing and you want to help share the good work that you're doing with others. We'd also love to hear from you, as we can connect you maybe with folks who are interested in learning more or could really benefit from hearing about your experience. So we'd love to hear from you. Reach out anytime, and it's just something that we're really passionate about, and would love to talk more.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing the process and the work that you're doing. Thank you for doing this work and for bringing this beautiful thing into our classrooms. And thank you for listening to our Creating Conditions podcast featuring the Indigenous Morning Greetings. We look forward to being with you again.
Yes, and stay tuned. Our next episode, we were going to take it a little different direction, but not as a positive topic, but a really important topic. We're going to be talking about our missing and murdered Indigenous people and some resources that we've created to help prevent that from happening. And so it'll be a little bit of a tougher, more heavier topic, but a really important topic in an area where we have some opportunity to implement some resources that were recently developed in partnership with our Indian Education for All unit. So stay tuned. We would love for you to continue listening, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks for listening to the Creating Conditions podcast from the American Indian Student Achievement Team at OPI. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, share, and leave a review. And keep joining us as we work to create the conditions every student needs to thrive.